Let's bring up the first speaker, and that'll be Rachael. Rachel's going to be talking about communication is key. Welcome, Rachael Lovallo.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, forward, backward. We've got this. All right, hello everyone. My name is Rachael Lovallo, and I'm a senior test engineer at a company called Pulsera. Bear with me, I'm getting over a cold, so if I sound a little squeaky, that's why. Pulsera is a small company, you may not have heard of us, but we provide a platform for healthcare professionals that helps them communicate in time-sensitive emergencies, such as a stroke, a heart attack, a trauma event, you name it. And I'm not here today to talk to you about what my company does, but I do want to talk about something that's central to our mission and purpose, and that is communication. So imagine for a moment that time-sensitive situation where the minutes going by are equivalent to tissue loss, right? If the care team surrounding that patient is not communicating effectively, we know that that patient's chances go down drastically. Now, in the context of my work, I started thinking about this and noticed some parallels between communication in that emergency and communication on a dev team where you're under the gun to get a product out the door within a limited time frame, but you're also needing to keep quality high, right? And I think that's many of our jobs in quality assurance. And what I want to provide you today are 3 action items you can take with you into 2020 to help increase quality and efficiency through communication in your workplaces. And those are, number 1, write your bugs with bulletproof steps to reproduce. 2, actually talk to your coworkers, especially the ones that are writing the code that you test. And 3, get a second set of eyes on your work. And I forgot to change my slide. Okay, so this first action item seems really obvious, right? If you can write your bug in such a way that anyone at your company can read it and understand what you mean, what's the basic problem, and can reproduce it on their machine, that bug is going to get fixed faster. It's going to get assigned out, but also it's going to get fixed, period, right? It's not going to get closed as cannot reproduce or how many times have we been hit with it works on my machine. So this is really important. It also seems really easy, right? We've been writing bugs for how many years? Like 5 more? It's just words. You have your steps, your result, what you maybe expected to happen. And what I noticed recently is that your audience also matters. So when I started writing bugs, they typically went to the same 2 developers that I worked really well with, and we were all in the trenches on the same projects, so they understood what I was talking about. Now, my bugs go to a triage team, and I don't work with these guys. They kind of know me, and I started getting questions back on my bugs, and it was really frustrating. So I was like, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for years. But I took a step back and looked at it as a challenge and was like, how can I communicate better to these people that I don't know? And so I did some internet research, like you do, and realized a couple things. First of all, humans are really good at looking at a wall of really similar things and picking out the 1 or 2 things that are different. So instead of a wall of text, maybe throw in some bold or some bright red or something to draw the reader's eye to exactly where you want them to look. So you might make your result bright red, for example, and bold. I go big. My bugs are a little extra. Additionally, some people are visual learners, and a wall of text does not speak to them. So adding a screenshot or even a video of a bug can add a lot of meaning, and I've noticed that some people go there first. They're not even reading the text. They're going straight to that video. So get creative, think about your audience, and level up in your writing of bugs. All right. I would argue that one of the biggest time sucks in a test process happens when the tester never talks to the people that are writing the code that you're testing. It seems like it would save time to not have those conversations, but in the long run, time ends up being wasted. It's kind of like these grain silos here. If you're trying to move stuff from A to B to C, but these are all freestanding, there's going to be a disconnect somewhere, and there's going to be a loss of quality or time, or worst case, both. So how do we break down these silos? I'm going to give one example. There are many examples, but something that my coworkers and I have tried is what we call pair testing, and it's a total ripoff of the early 2000s buzzword pair programming. And we apply it to a few specific test scenarios. So those boomerang bugs that have been tested, reopened, and they're still not fixed, everyone is fed up. Or gnarly functionality changes in brutal legacy code that we know is going to introduce a bunch of tiny bugs, and we want to find them fast because it's a matter of when, not if. And what we do in pair testing is a developer and a tester will get together, ideally in the same room, but maybe on a video call. I work remotely. I can't be in the same room. And the developer will make a change. The tester will pull that change right away in their local test environment and start testing it out. They'll look at it together. And if the tester finds another issue, the developer fixes it, and they iterate like that until it's fixed. In my experience, this takes maybe an hour, worst case, for most of these bugs, whereas if you never talk to the developer, write up your notes, reopen the ticket, wait for it to get assigned, wait for it to get fixed, wait for a build, it could take, best case, 4 hours. I've seen it take 3 days. So you're saving a ton of time here. Also, this builds a lot of empathy because I, as the tester, have to look over the shoulder of my developer and see the gnarly code that he or she is working on, and I gain a lot more respect for that person. And in turn, the developer is looking over my shoulder and has a better feel for what I'm going for with testing. Maybe this person's seen the requirements, but they haven't seen my test plan. So beneficial on a few levels. Now, this doesn't apply to every project or every company even, but what I would challenge you to do in a non-awkward way is reach out to the developers writing the code you're testing and ask something like, what can I test to help get to the root cause of bug X? If you can ask that question and then follow through, you're showing that you're on the same team, and that goes a long way towards breaking down these silos and opening that door to communication. Okay. So, does anybody else work at a startup? Okay, a few of you. When I first started thinking about working at a startup, a mentor told me that startup life is like paddling your own canoe. You have all this control, whereas working at a big company is like trying to paddle a cruise ship. And it sounds really glamorous, but in my experience, sometimes working at a startup is more like this picture from the Hubbard expedition where you're trying to push a loaded canoe upriver with your team. And it takes a lot of setting aside your ego and leaning on your coworkers, and you really have to be able to take feedback and incorporate that so you learn and grow. And you can take initiative to do this on your own, but I would argue it's infinitely better if you can bake that feedback loop into your development process so that it's part of the best practices and everyone is getting a second set of eyes on their work all the time. One way my manager did this on our testing team is through something called test review, which is a total ripoff of code review. And it just means that we as testers on the test team spend a portion of our time every day reviewing other testers' work. And we're looking for additional functionality that's loosely related that would maybe be good to at least sanity test. We're looking for totally missed areas, and we're also looking to give kudos where those are due. Now, this is great for 2 reasons. First is the obvious. If you get another set of eyes on a ticket before it gets closed, you might find a glaring bug that otherwise would have gone straight to the customer, because that's what usually happens, right? One tester tests a ticket, it gets closed, and then we ship this thing. So we catch more bugs this way. Also, the more long-term benefit is that this action of being the reviewer and doing the review are both really challenging, each in their own way, and they force us to grow as testers. So, short-term benefit and long-term benefit. All right, I think I'm reaching the end of my time, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But I wanted to end by saying that this doesn't have to be perfect. I am an introvert. Communication is hard for me, and sometimes I get to work and I just want to go straight to my QA cave and speak to no one. But I've found that communication is like a muscle, and the more I try small actions to reach out to my team and build these skills, the better I get at it. And it feels good to know that I'm moving the needle at my company because this communication is building quality and helping us be more efficient. So one more time, write your bugs with bulletproof steps to reproduce, talk to your teammates, especially the ones that are writing the code you test, and ask for that second set of eyes on your work. All right, I think I might have a minute or two for questions, if there are any. Oh, I was actually wondering this the other day. We have doubled our dev team in the past year. So talking about communication challenges, there are people I don't know well right now. I think when I started, we were maybe close to 50. So I would say we're probably in the 70 range now, but I would have to go to the website and read the bios. I also went remote 6 months ago, so I'm not in the office meeting people. But we're past the small startup and ramping up towards a mid-sized startup.
Have you ever thought of doing metrics on some of the improvements where instead of being a cost center on quality, you're showing the value add of had this gone to production, this is where the kind of uncertainty, and actually putting a measure of value added to the organization by these processes? Have you started down that journey?
So funny you should say that.
Yes.
My background is in math, so I have been thinking that way for a while. The challenge with metrics is always how can we have the time to gather all this data efficiently without taking time away from other things, but I'm drawn to that. It's more of like a soft answer now, but I can think of a few large bugs that in my organization, we can't let a huge bug out the door. This is patient data.
The reason I mention that is because in many organizations, some of the talks I give, it becomes beneficial to you as a value provider to justify taking the focus away as a cost center and more of a value add benefit to the organization by what you guys are delivering. So it strengthens you guys' capability to deliver, having that empowering your directors with that data.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's an investment worth making.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like having everyone at the company value quality is huge. And we're lucky that the head of development at Pulsera is a huge proponent of quality. He'll often be the one coming to QA to be like, are we ready to release? Instead of being like, we're releasing on the 2nd, so finish it up okay. That's kind of refreshing. All right, anybody else? I think we're probably about done.
Let's give a hand to our fellow introvert.